Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak. I hope you guys have a blessed month of Ramadan. It is upon us again, this fantastic month of blessings and joy and worship. And I hope all of us can make the most of it. Ameen. Today, I thought I would talk about some of the teachings that we can use from Ramadan in order to help increase our wealth the halal way. But before I get into it, it really helps me out if you would hit the like button and hit the subscribe button so that you can come back for more videos. Ramadan has a ton of blessings and a ton of lessons to teach us every single year, some of which could be us learning what it would be like to live without food and water. Some of us, it teaches us patience. Some of us, it teaches anger management. Well, I've got 3 lessons that Ramadan has to teach us that can actually help us increase our wealth. And the first of those lessons is the idea of delayed gratification. One of the things that's really common among us in this day and age is that we know what we want what we want, and we want it right now. But one of the great lessons of Ramadan is the fact that it teaches us delayed gratification. Let me ask you this. You fast for a really long day. And for those of us who live in North America in the summertime, when we used to fast, how long were those days? 16, 17, 18-hour days with no food and no water? Yet we managed. But what was the best feeling about that? The best feeling was that first sip of water after a really long, hot day of fasting. There are few feelings in the world that are any greater than that feeling of that first sip of water after a long day of fasting. And so what does this teach us? This teaches us the importance and the benefit of delayed gratification. So how can we apply this in our financial lives? Well, all the time, like I said, we know what we want what we want, and we want it right now. But the problem is, this can cause us to use haram methods and improper methods and even bad methods to acquire the things that we want. A lot of the time, we'll take on interest-based loans in order to buy a car, in order to buy some furniture, in order to buy something that we want right now today. We'll want that new phone, we'll pay for it with a credit card. And then we'll worry about paying it back later. And that usually comes with interest penalties, different things like that. But if we understand the importance of delayed gratification, we can learn to be patient and we can learn to save up for the things that we actually want. And that will help us in the long run avoid interest-bearing debt. That will help us avoid buying things unnecessarily. And overall, this will help us grow our wealth and stay away from debt. The second teaching of Ramadan that can help us grow our wealth is the idea of living on less. How many of us know and relearn this fact every single year during the month of Ramadan that we don't actually need as much food as we think. We don't need as much drink as we think. We don't need that daily trip to Starbucks. We don't need to eat lunch outside every single time. We don't need this and that and the other to be happy. Some of us, and I know a lot of people who are cranky most of the year, but during the month of Ramadan, they're so at peace. Their anger issues are gone. Whatever the case may be, they are in a much better place. And yet, they're depriving themselves of food, they're depriving themselves of drink. Sometimes during the day, they're depriving themselves of other things that are normally halal. And so what this teaches us is that we don't need as much to be happy. We don't need that brand new car. We don't need that brand new iPad. We don't need the daily trip to Starbucks. We don't need the daily lunch outside. If you add up all the different things that you normally spend your money on in the year, throughout the month of Ramadan you avoid, lots of people end up saving a ton of money. Let's say, for example, normally you spend $15 to $20 a day going out to lunch and on Starbucks and different things like that. Let's just say that's what you do. Well, that's $400 a month, and if you take that and invest it, this can lead to thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars down the road. So the idea that we can get by, we can be content on less, and use that money in a more productive way. And this is a lesson that can help us grow and increase our wealth over time. The final lesson that I believe Ramadan has to teach us about our wealth and our money is the idea of accountability. How many of us have perhaps missed a day of fasting for whatever reason? Maybe we're not feeling well, maybe we're sick, whatever that happens to be. Oftentimes, we decide that we're going to make it up when the days are shorter. We're going to make it up in December, in November, in January, when the days are only, 8 hours long. But how difficult do we find it to actually make up the fast, even on the days where it is short? Many of us don't even do it. And the reason that is, and this is just my opinion, is because when we are in the month of Ramadan, we know that every other Muslim on the planet is going through the exact same thing. They are feeling the hunger. They are feeling the blessings. They are feeling like this is something that we are doing as a group, as a team, right? Even if you're not necessarily communicating with one another, it helps to know that there are billions of people on the planet in the exact same situation as you. So what I mean by this is we are accountable. We are stronger when we do things together. And that can be applied to our finances and our wealth as well. Create a situation where you are accountable. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go sharing every single detail about your personal finances. But some of the things I see a lot of people do, which actually really helps them save and invest more, is they do things like ayuto, which is a group of people get together, they each put money into a pool, and one person gets that pile of money throughout like a 12-month period. And so they're accountable to others to help them save and grow their wealth and invest. So how can you create a situation where you are accountable to someone else? Maybe it's not just yourself. Maybe you set up that accountability just with your wife or your husband. Maybe you set that up with some trusted members of your family or community. This level of accountability will help us achieve the goals that we have when it comes to our finances, when it comes to our wealth, when it comes to borrowing, right? There's an old saying out there that if everybody walked around with a net worth sign on their forehead, people's spending habits would change dramatically. A lot of us, what we do is we spend a lot of money, excessive amounts of money, in order to look rich, in order to look like we're doing well. We spend money we don't have on things we don't need to impress people we don't necessarily even like. And we do this because there's really no accountability behind how we spend our money and who we're trying to kind of show off to. So let's take this month of Ramadan as a way to learn so many lessons about ourselves and about our lives and about our wealth. And let's use and implement some of these lessons even long after Ramadan has gone, so that you can benefit yourselves both spiritually and financially for many years to come. I hope you guys have a wonderful Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our fasts, all of our deeds, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eventually grant us Jannat al-Firdaus. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak.